Okay, so we can see when we read this Hatcher Stubbs, the attorney profile for Mr. Rothschild, he's got a lot more on his plate than just taking advantage of tax benefits and providing a way to take care of other people, at least in detail. But overall, you know, in substance, yeah, you could throw it under those two headings and it'd be reasonably accurate. And there's lots of people out there that know this stuff inside, outside, upside, and downside. Unfortunately, those that do, this seems to be their only thing, and so that's, if you want to listen to their broadcast, you can, but oftentimes it gets to be pretty grinding on a month-to-month basis. But nevertheless, they're out there. You know, Randy Kelton has been doing, you know, a lot of good work teaching people. Alfred Addis, the same thing. George Gordon, you know, be careful in there. I've had certain reports, but, you know, listen to everybody, like Bill Cooper used to say. Read anything. Fill your, you know, get your eyes full, you know, get the black and white in your eyes, as Hal Anthony says. And come to knowledge on this. Come up to speed. Join us all here in the 21st century. All right? Moving into the 22nd century, or 22nd century. What do they say? Yeah, it will be. I guess it will be the 22nd century. Moving towards the 22nd century. You know, we're moving forward here. We never stopped. Find ourselves out there in the great diving board of life, and our toes have just come off the board, and we're falling forward into the future all the time. As soon as you come off that board, it's pretty much a done deal. It's all how you do the setup as to what kind of a dive you're going to perform, but once your toes come off, you could change your mind, I guess, into a different kind of a dive. But continuing here, one of the most important reasons for setting up a trust is the favorable tax treatment that results from its use. You've got a tax issue coming up? Might want to look at a trust. Trusts are usually created by persons in high-income tax brackets who want to reduce their taxable incomes without giving up ownership of income-producing assets. And so now we go back and we look at this CAFRA, Corporation Nation, and think about it from the standpoint of the trusts and realize that what they're doing is doing massive amounts of investing in all kinds of corporations. They're hiding behind these pension funds as trusts, raking in the do-re-mi, and it's the trust managers and all of the brokers that get all the commissions. They're the ones that are living in the lap of luxury, but the school teachers, they're out there begging collective bargaining, right? But that doesn't come up in these news articles, and it's not part of Walker's debate on the House floor or in Ohio. This is done by naming beneficiaries who are in lower income tax brackets than are the settlers of the trust, such as children and grandchildren. You're breaking up your tax liability. The yearly income that is paid out from the trust to the beneficiaries is included in their taxable income. So they can bring up, you know, another Rothschild son here, another Rothschild daughter there. You know, give them a little, you know, a few shekels here and a few shekels there. Spread the wealth around. It all stays in the family. You know what it is? It's multi-generational income and land holding. And that's right off the website there for Hatcher and Stubbs Rothschild. That's what he does. That's what they do. They pioneered this work. A trust may be taxed as a separate entity apart from the individual taxpayer. Of course, you're an individual taxpayer. That's something you want to try and change if you can. If under special limited circumstances, the yearly income earned by the trust is not disturbed or distributed to the beneficiaries. When this occurs, rather than having the excess income taxed directly to the person who set up the trust, placing him in a higher tax bracket, the income will be included in the taxable income of the trust, which has a lower tax bracket than does the settler. There's tax reasons for all of this. I'm not going to go any further with the tax benefits. Caring for others. People who want to take care of their family, friends, or even unfortunate strangers often use trusts to achieve these goals. For example, a husband may create an insurance trust to take care of his wife and children if he should die. Well, of course, we're all going to die. It has been appointed for us all to die at least once. To do this, he takes out a life insurance policy and pays the premium on it. Boy, what a dupe. You really need to do the mathematics there, folks. Take your calculator out and run it before you get involved in these insurance scams. Anyway, the insurance company, like AIG, we just bailed them out, in return promises to pay the proceeds of the policy to the person named by the insured to act as a trustee. And if you can take someone like AIG's promises, they probably make promises that they keep to Evergreen, but they don't keep one with you. The trustee is given the duty to support the beneficiaries, usually the insured spouse and children, until the proceeds of the policy are depleted. There's more involved in all of that. Watch out for those insurance scams out there. They're everywhere. A spendthrift trust is one by which the settlor or the law specifically prohibits the beneficiary from signing away his right to future income from the trust. This arrangement is used primarily to support beneficiaries who are careless in handling financial matters. A spendthrift trust. You watch out for Granny. She knows she's old and she's going through it fast. A charitable trust, charitable trusts are usually created to benefit a certain segment of society. For example, a trust fund established for the education and support of children born with Down syndrome in New York State is a charitable trust, and guess who makes the real money and how few children with Down syndrome ever benefit. Then there's express trusts. Generally, when people speak of a trust, they mean an express trust. An express trust is created when the settlor states his intention. The settlor states his intention to create a trust, usually in writing, and goes through the required formalities to establish the trust. Enter the lawyer, he's going to get his cut. For example, if Adam executes a document making Joe the trustee of the profits of his factory, which are to go to Adam's niece Beth, an express trust has been created. Express trusts are to be distinguished from implied trusts, which are created by the courts. Implied trusts are discussed near the end of this article, and it continues. And again, once again, it then goes into private trusts, talks more about intention, and then it gets into trust property, and so on and so forth. Basic facts about the law of trust. A trust is a legal arrangement by which one person holds property for the benefit of another. The person who makes the arrangement is the settlor. The person who holds the property is the trustee. We could go on endlessly out of that, but I think we've got enough from Reader's Digest. One of the sets of encyclopedias in my house that I really value is this, that was donated to our library by one of our listeners, but this, the Encyclopedia of the Social Sciences. This is basically, and was written, if you remember the Prussian method of education, this was written, developed for the Hochschule für Politik. Many of these contributors, the authors, were considered to be der Führer's professors. They were all over the world, but these contributors brought a lot of information out. Now, they had 3 different systems in that Prussian school. What do they call that? I can't remember the exact name. Maybe I'd hit it right. This was copyrighted back in 1934 by the Macmillan Company, originally reissued in 1937, the volume that I have in front of me. But this Hochschule für Politik, there are 3 classes of people in Germany in the roll-up here to the Second World War. 3 classes primarily. On the top, they had a basically night school for people that wanted to and were going to be expected to participate in the government and in industries. And they needed to be red hot. And then they had basically all the workers, skilled workers, and they needed to be pretty well versed in all things vocational and technical. And then there was the agricultural and labor people. Right? 3 classes, 3 tiers. And the education system was designed and developed for that. If you showed exceptional capability, you might wind up in a Hochschule für Politik. And if you found yourself in the Hochschule für Politik, don't be surprised if your instructors were working out of this same set of encyclopedias. It's a higher level of understanding than you ordinarily get. Even in encyclopedias, these articles excel. So let's go to the article here on trusts in our little Hochschule für Politik this morning. Early development. The term trust has been so variously defined that its connotations remain unprecise. I mean, you just can't nail it down. We've shown you that it's like a multi-purpose tool. It's a Leatherman on your belt. In connection with industrial combinations, it commonly refers only to forms of organization in manufacturing and mining industries motivated by the desire to escape the limiting force of competition. You see how drastically different it is between taxation and taking care of others and where the trusts really have their power. There's a difference here. There's that information that's been made available for those that run this planet, and then there's the information that's available to others. Vastly different way to start out. It has not been generally applied large-scale to large-scale organizations or combinations in the fields of finance and the so-called natural monopolies, although the terms money trust and power trust are sometimes heard. What a vast difference right off the bat. We'll be right back.